Hello. Today I'm recording from the reservoir, finding a quieter space to bring you this recording about the Trecena of Aj. So, as I've been doing in my previous recordings, I'd just like to do a little bit of housekeeping first, and obviously if the idea of Mayan calendars and if the idea of my work is interesting to you, then if you go to my site you can find out how to book up a personal reading with me. And if it's really interesting for you, then I also would like to let you know that I will be running a calendar workshop from the 14th to the 19th of July. Again, if you go to my website, thefourpillars.net, you'll find details on that. So, I'm walking this path on the day 13 Aj, the day which I would call the spiritual journey, the day which I would say is a day for understanding kind of like where your journey might take you, physically, mentally, emotionally, and particularly spiritually. And I'd also like to just mention here that I recently launched the Ajpu journey, which is a trek to El Mirador next year, but with spiritual components into it. So there'll be ceremony, there'll be shamanic exercises, let's say, on the way. It's not just a jungle trek, it's a jungle trek plus intention, which, well, that's the way that I've always wanted to do it. And I think you might find it quite interesting if that's your kind of thing. It's a hard trek, that's for sure. It will certainly test you on all levels. But it seems right to mention it on this day of the spiritual path. Anyhow, today I'm walking this path to talk about the Trecena of Aj. And for me, the Trecena of Aj is, this is the natural continuity from the Trecena of Ajpu. The Trecena of Ajpu, all about finding our inner hero, right? The Trecena of Ajpu, very much about looking for higher purpose in our lives. And then we move into the Trecena of Aj, about the home, about leadership, about the community. And I think that there's a good part in that Trecena that's saying to us, great, the Trecena of Ajpu helped you to find your higher purpose in life. Great, it took you on your hero's journey. It nourished your spirit, it nourished your soul, helped you to overcome some challenges and that kind of thing. But to what end? Because the Trecena of Aj, the Trecena of leadership, the Trecena of harmony in the community, is then say, so what are you going to do with that? Kind of like, let's say that somehow, or whatever, you undertook some enlightenment journey with the Trecena of Ajpu, and the Trecena of Aj is saying, right, okay, how can you use that to bring harmony to the world, harmony to your family? How can you bring, a better living space for all through what you've learned? So we begin the Trecena of Aj on the day Hun Aj. That will be on the 29th of June 2025. And, kind of like I always see these numbers, like the number 1, it can be a bit of a reboot. It's novelty, it's beginning, it's the newness. And here with Aj, we could see it as the renovation of harmony in the community. We could see it as a new project, a new plan, a new idea of how to bring a greater harmony to the home, how to bring a greater harmony to your family, how to bring a greater harmony to your community. Personally, I think that they all work in together. It is not independent of each other. If you have harmony in your heart, you bring it to your home. If your home is in harmony, if your family is in harmony, that extends out into your community. And so where can you use your newfound skills from the Trecena of Ajpu to help you to bring a new spirit of harmony into your heart, your home, and your community? This is something you might be looking at for today. How can you bring greater stability to your home? How can you bring greater stability to your family? Hun Aj might bring out new ideas for this. So it's time to plant them. Or maybe it is that you've got new ideas of what you want to bring in to your community, to bring more harmony. Hun Aj gives you the opportunity to bring them in. Now, the one being like the seed also needs a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of fertilizer. And so Hun Aj might also be, what do you need from others around you? What do you need from your community to help you to bring that stability in? It'd be a great day to ask for advice because, sometimes people have done it before or have tried it before. They can show you the challenges. They can show you the benefits. And so maybe it's a good time to also seek advice on how you can better bring that harmony to your community. From Hun Aj, we then move to Ish on the 30th of June 2025. So, the day of Ish, the day of the feminine, the day of the mother, the day of our connection with the Mother Earth. Ish, the day when we understand all that Mother Earth brings for us, and we connect with her. We might be asking her for what we need, and in turn giving her what she needs. Whether it's an environmental project, looking after the environment around us, looking after, surely that's part of our community, that's part of our home, is, kind of like it's no point trying to have a beautiful home, as it were, beautiful in the heart, all harmonious and peaceful, if, kind of like it's like a garbage dump outside. Now, the number 2 can represent self-sacrifice. The number 2 can represent, kind of like seeing the polarities. And maybe there's this polarity of, kind of like what you see within the community as, kind of like what looks after the natural world and what doesn't. It can be the polarity of, kind of like I like to think about Ish as being somewhat of the magician. The number 2 can also represent relationships. And so, kind of like it could be about the, kind of like self-sacrifice, which brings some magic in relationship. But I want to go back to that self-sacrifice to connect with Mother Earth. It's that kind of thing about going out and doing your bit. As I said, there is a certain social responsibility that comes during the Trecena of Aj, and that self-sacrifice to go and have a clean-up of your local community, to go and connect on a more profound level with the spirit of Mother Earth, I think is an excellent exercise for the day to Ish. From 2 Ish, we then move into 3 Tz'ikin on the 1st of July 2025. So, 3 Tz'ikin. Tz'ikin representing the vision, representing the birds. Tz'ikin representing prosperity. And here, going inside on the number 3, connected with the home. And again, kind of like in many ways, this kind of like, I was going to say it spells itself out, as it were. Because we have the Trecena of Aj about harmony in the home. And we have 3 Tz'ikin representing, it can represent abundance. But, kind of like it's in the way of thriving. Tz'ikin representing the vision. Number 3 representing the home. It's like, how do you envisage your home? I often like to think about things like, kind of like, we can have a house anywhere, but where our home is, I feel, is very much influenced by having a strong and loving community around us. If we don't have that strong and loving community, is our home really a home? It's kind of like just a house. That's the way that I see it or feel it anyway. And so on the day 3 Tz'ikin, we might ask ourselves a question. What is the vision for my home? What vision do I have to bring prosperity to my home, to bring prosperity to my community? Now, I often see those 3 days as being days of inner work, of being reflective, meditative days. And so perhaps today, the day 3 Tz'ikin, is the day to go within, to find the vision that you have to bring prosperity to your community and home. 3 Tz'ikin then gives way to 4 Ajmak. 4 Ajmak will fall on the 2nd of July 2025. Ajmak, the Nawal of forgiveness, the Nawal of pardon. Here, combined with the number 4, representing the material realm, representing the physical. And so when we see that material realm, when we see that physical essence, this is going out and doing it for real, for want of better words. It's getting it grounded. It's going out there, really doing the work. Now, Ajmak, forgiveness. Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, and asking for forgiveness. And here, combined with the number 4, brings it really present into the physical realm. So maybe it's asking forgiveness for physical elements, asking forgiveness for, kind of like physical mistakes and that kind of thing, as opposed to spiritual or mental. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's very much grounded. It's very basic, very down to earth. And there's something for me that suggests that this is kind of like a first step. Now, we are in the Trecena, which is about re-harmonizing, bringing harmony, a new harmony to home and community. And maybe the first step within that, or part of that, process, is to look at where we have been human, look at where others have been human, where, kind of like none of us is perfect. We will make our mistakes, and we got to learn to let go of it if we really want to bring that harmony in. And so, for me, 4 Ajmak gives us exactly that opportunity to kind of like sit down, go back to basics and say, okay, look, where do we need to forgive ourselves? Where do we need to forgive others? 4 can be seen as a foundation. It's like the 4 corners, the 4 pillars that hold up the home, the 4, kind of the 4 corners of it. We've got to build on a strong foundation. That strong foundation of forgiveness. That strong foundation of acceptance of our humanity and the humanity of others. Because if we can't get that right, if we can't accept ourselves and others for exactly who and what they are, then we're never going to build that harmony in our community. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we have to agree with them, and it doesn't mean to say that we have to necessarily think that what they, kind of like what they did is right or whatever. But what's done is done. The forgiveness has to come in order to rebuild, in order to make things happen. So 4 Ajmak may bring those things up and say, right, okay, are you ready to forgive that yet? Are you ready to build a foundation within that community? Are you ready to move on from it? Or, And we're going to have to wait another 260 days for the next go at it. From 4 Ajmak, we then move into 5 Noach on the 3rd of July 2025. So, sorry, I got distracted by a chipmunk down there. Today I've already seen an otter and a chipmunk at this reserve. That's why I like to be here, to get back into nature, even if it's still in the city. Anyway, my apologies for getting distracted. So 5 Noach. Noach, the Nawal of the mind, the Nawal of thought, the Nawal of problem solving. And here we have it with the number 5, the number of work, of putting our energy into things. So Noach brings us the information. Noach makes sure that we store it in the right way. Noach gives us the intellect, the knowledge, the way to sort the problem out. And the number 5 can be seen as work. It's the representation of the digits on one hand, and the hand is what we do our work with. And work is the application of energy to a system. That system, in this case, could be seen as thought, could be seen as problem solving. And again, kind of like this is something which kind of like writes itself, doesn't it? Putting our energy into solving the problems, putting our energy into coming up with solutions. We are in the Trecena, representing the renovation of harmony in society, and these problems aren't going to solve themselves, are they? We're going to need to put our energy, our effort into that solution. So, if we look at it from a particular point of view, we'd really like things to drop in our lap, right? We'd really like things just to solve themselves. We can just sit back and, kind of like wait for things to sort themselves out. Well, if we're really trying to make a better society, make a better community, we're going to have to work on it. We're going to have to work on putting together our thoughts, putting together our knowledge, putting together our, kind of like all of the knowledge and experience that we've got throughout our lives to come up with a solution to bring harmony back. And so for me, 5 Noch is exactly that, working on the solutions, putting our effort into it, not being afraid to put our energy into it to make it work, to make it happen. So it might be, yes, a hard working day. It might be quite a bit of effort to get there. But I often think that 5, has this kind of like tendency. It wants to do it. It becomes its passion. That work becomes a passion. And it's a passion to solve the problems, which if we're really invested in bringing harmony to our community, that's what it should be. A passion on solving the problems that bring disharmony. Right? To come up with harmonious solutions. To put our work into it. From 5 Noach, we then move to 6 Tijax on the 4th of July 2025. So, Tijax, the Nawal of the obsidian blade, the Nawal of purification, the Nawal of healing. And here seen with the number 6, representing ultimate stability. Here seen with the number 6, which can also represent family. So this could be a family healing day. A day to put our disputes behind us. Because Tijax, whilst it can be seen as the day of the holy warrior, it can also be seen as the day of reunification. It's like cutting away the disease in order to bring healing. It's like cutting away that which causes imbalance in order to bring harmony. Now we see it with the number 6. That number 6 can represent the ultimate balance, bringing together the heart of the sky, the heart of the earth, into the physical realm. It could also be seen as being very, very stable. Not too hot, not too cold, just right in the middle. Nice and balanced. And so, Tijax can be a crusader. Wants to go off on quests, to heal, to bring unification. And that balance number suggests that, it's doing it in the right way. Not too much, not too little. Just the right amount. We can also see that number 6 representing the family, so family healing coming up. Now Tijax, I like to think of, if we think of it as a surgeon who's cutting out the disease, then we can understand surgery is not without pain. Now that pain will be temporary. That pain might be necessary. Sometimes we've got to go through that surgical process in order to heal. And so 6 Tijax brings sort of just the right amount. It's a very skilled surgeon that cuts out just the right amount in order to bring that healing in. So for me, 6 Tijax can be a fantastic day for healing. Certainly it can be a fantastic day for healing within the family. And if we go back to the theme of the Trecena of Aj, the understanding of how to bring new harmony or renovate the harmony within our community and our society, we have to understand that the healing of the family has to go first. And that healing may, like I say, sometimes might be a little bit painful to begin with, but the advances that come from it, the harmony that comes from it, from cutting out anything which is causing an imbalance in your family, is something which brings true harmony to the home and to the community. After 6 Tijax comes 7 Kawok on the 5th of July 2025. So Kawok, the other aspect of healing, where Tijax might be the surgeon, where Tijax might be seen as the active form of healing. I see Kawok as a more passive form of healing. Kawok, the birth process. Kawok, the Nawal of the midwife. And here we see it with the number 7, representing finality, representing endings. Sometimes 7 can also be seen as representing death. It's kind of interesting because it's kind of like death and birth at the same time. Death and rebirth, possibly. Understanding that whole cycle, that cycle of balance. And this is something which can also come in on the Trecena of Aj. There is a certain nature that needs to be preserved within the community. It's kind of like understanding, everything has its time, everything has its cycle. Life, death, rebirth. And 7 Kawok may well bring that up. This can also be seen as the end of the birthing process, taking something to its conclusion. It's kind of like one last push and the new life emerges. Maybe that's what 7 Kawok can bring in as well. Now Kawok, the storm that washed away the old society in order to bring in the new. Because sometimes that's going to happen as well. We see it in many of the old stories, including the Popol Vuh, where, kind of like the old civilization was seen as being dirty or outworn or, kind of like needed to end. So the storm came and flooded away the old society so that the new society could be born. And in this time of Aj, the Trecena of Aj, sometimes there's going to be parts of, let's say, the society that's been cut off on the 6 Tijax and then needs to be washed away on the 7 Kawok. That final push, that final process, that final healing to bring harmony back, to bring the rebirth. So, once again, it could be quite a powerful day. You know, there's a finality to it. But it's a finality that brings joy, you know. It's kind of like, yes, it might be terrifying in one aspect, but it can also be necessary. It can also be joyful in another. 7 Kawok gives way to 8 Ajpu on the 6th of July 2025. Ajpu, the Nawal of the sun, the Nawal of the divine, the Nawal of the higher purpose, the Nawal of the solar lords. And here we see it connected with the number 8, representing wholeness, representing totality. Now, there are different ways that we could see the 8 working. We could see it as the 1 of birth and the 7 of death coming to represent the whole cycle. We could see if 1 and 7 are like the bookends, then the 8 represents wholeness as everything. It's the 4 first men making ceremony with their wives, where 4 becomes 8 and wholeness happens. And so it's the wholeness of the spiritual path. It's the wholeness of the connection with the divine. For me, 8 Ajpu, the day on which to make ceremony, to give thanks for your path to higher purpose. And of course, you know, this falling right in the sort of like middle of the Trecena of Aj, of course it does. Now, that 8, if I see it as wholeness, I see it as walking through the light and walking through the darkness. It's understanding and embracing all aspects of the Nawal Ajpu. That, you know, sometimes the hero has to, you know, the hero's here to walk in the light, let's say. But in order to walk in the light, sometimes they've got to go through the darkness to get there. And when we see, you know, kind of like when we read the Popol Vuh in particular, we see that Hun Ajpu, Wukub Hun Ajpu, 1 and 7 Ajpu, they were, you know, kind of like the father and the uncle of the hero twins. And when they went to the underworld, they were tricked very quickly because they didn't understand how sneaky and chaotic the underworld, the Lord's Kame, could be. So, Hun Ajpu fails. Well, they both fail. Hun Ajpu's head is hung in a tree. A hikama tree. And he spits in the hand of Blood Moon, Ishkik, who then later gives birth to Hun Ajpu Nishbalam Kirch. Now, when they go to face the similar challenges in the underworld, they overcome those challenges. The Lords of Death can't trick them. Why? Because their dad is from the upper world, their mum is from the underworld. And so they represent the wholeness of the hero. They understand that it's not all is light. It's kind of like, you know, you've got to understand the darkness as well in order to fully become the hero. And so, for me, this is very much a theme of 8 Ajpu. That to become the whole hero, we have to embrace the shadow and the light. It's the only way that we can get through it. Otherwise, we just get, you know, tricked by the Lords of Death, as it were. And so sometimes, you know, kind of like maybe we see it in a movie. Maybe, you know, kind of like the hero's on the screen or whatever, and he's fighting against some big enemy or something like that. And he has to throw a handful of sand in the enemy's face. Now, that's a bit of a dirty trick, isn't it? But it's our hero that's doing it because he knows that that's the way that he can go forward with it. So I hope that that example is not too challenging for people. It shouldn't be, especially on 8 Ajpu. It's understanding. You've got to embrace both aspects, that sometimes the hero is going to have to walk through the darkness in order to get to the light. And so Ajpu gives us the opportunity to understand that path in wholeness, to understand both the light aspects and the dark aspects. That's what brings us to wholeness, that's what brings us to totality, that's what brings out the wholeness of the hero. Ajpu then leads into 9 Imox, and this will be on the 7th of July 2025. Imox, the Nawal of the water. Imox, the Nawal of the lake. Imox, the Nawal that connects us all together. The dream world. The psychic connection, the psychic bond between us all. Imox gives us that connection to the primordial ocean, the water that bonds us all together. Imox, the dream that we all dream. And of course, seeing it occur during this Trecena of Aj, this Trecena, as we celebrate the connection of our community. How Imox helps us to understand our dreams, brings us a dream forward, and here, connected with the number 9, could be seen as the feminine, but it could also be seen as life itself, the dream for life, the connectivity of life. And surely if we are feeling everything, we understand life better. Because for me, this is very much what Imox is about. Imox is hugely empathic. And as such, kind of like it is the empathy for life that we're talking about on that 9 Imox day. To feel everything around us, to feel the true balance of life around us. Whether it's our human community or whether it's the birds or the chipmunks or the otters or whatever we might be around. To feel all of that life around us. We're all connected by the water. There wasn't any water, well, none of this greenness would be here. We wouldn't be here, right? It's what connects us all. It's life stream. And that's what 9 Imox can be all about. And I would say that this is something that would be a fantastic goal within our community, a fantastic reason to want to stand up and renovate the harmony in our community, to bring in life streams. So, for me, this is something we could be working on 9 Imox. What is your life dream? How can you bring that into your community? How can, kind of like you be that within your community? How can you connect with the consciousness of your community in order to really bring everything to life? Now there's certainly a feminine aspect to the number 9. It can be seen as the number of the divine feminine. The number 9 the Nawal Imox can also be seen as a very feminine Nawal. So there should be a certain feminine energy to this day. The Aj Trecena could have quite a masculine feel to it because, kind of like Aj could be seen as one of the most masculine of all of the Nawals. But 9 Imox is a very soft, feminine day. It can be very, very empathic. And so, this can also bring up a lot of emotions, Imox being very emotional in its way. And so, kind of like when we look at it like that, we can really understand, kind of like what emotions might bring us to really bring life into our community, connecting us with our life dream. From 9 Imox, we then move into 10 Aq'ab'al. And we'll move into 10 Aq'ab'al on the 8th of July. Aq'ab'al, the Nawal of the wind. Aq'ab'al, the Nawal of the divine breath. Aq'ab'al, the Nawal of communication. And here we see it with the number 10. The number 10 representing community. The number 10 representing society. It's about time you started speaking. Because we need to communicate our new idea for community, our new idea to bring harmony, or whatever it might be. 10 Ich gives us the absolutely perfect opportunity. It's literally communication with the community, using our voices to express our life breath. It's about coming to agreements. I like to think of the 10 as being two hands shaking each other. And so I would imagine that 10 Ik would be a great day to come to agreements, a great day for diplomacy, as it were, to shake the hands of our neighbours, to express and bring our words together, to create verbal agreements, if nothing else, on how to bring more harmony into our world, or greater harmony into our community. And so it's probably, I think 10 Ik could be a very social day. A great day for, talking within the community. Also a great day for expression within the community. From 10 Ich, we then move into 11 Aq'ab'al on the 9th of July, 2025. Aq'ab'al, the dusk and the dawn, the new concept. And here with the number 11 having a lot of novelty, a lot of expression about it. The number 11, which I see as kind of like, doesn't necessarily take a set direction. It's going to move in rather intuitive directions. The intuition comes to it as to which direction it wants to go in, and off it goes. It doesn't necessarily know which direction it's going to go in. It's very spontaneous with its changes. And here we see it with Aq'ab'al, the new concepts, so spontaneous new concepts to bring society into balance, to bring your community into harmony, to bring harmony into your home. And, the way that I often think about the 11 is, look, if we go where we've always gone, we will only find what we've always found, right? The only way that we can find new solutions, the only way that we can find new concepts, is to go off the beaten track, to go somewhere totally new, to go somewhere sometimes illogical, or to put things together in a way that might not necessarily seem logical, but we're following our intuition with it. And that's the way that we put things together. That's bringing those new concepts in. Because we tried the old concepts and they don't work. It's like that thing about, just repeating the same thing again, expecting something different to happen. It ain't going to happen. We're going to need new concepts to bring society, to bring harmony to our community. And 11 Aq'ab'al could be just the day to go and find them. Now, of course, in order to do so, you need to follow your intuition. Not something logical. Might take you off in some very weird directions to go and gather those things. Now, maybe part of those new concepts, or, putting that together, maybe that came out of the 10 Ik, chatting with your community on the day before or something like that. But 11 Aq'ab'al is certainly going to encourage us to explore new directions, explore new concepts, and, kind of like I say, to put things together in a way that we might not have put them together before. From 11 Aq'ab'al, we then move into 12 Cat on the 10th of July 2025. So Cat, the Nawal of the net, the Nawal of the carrying bag. Cat, the Nawal of our abundance. It's our packing our bag for our journey and making sure that we're carrying what we need. It can be releasing ourselves from bonds as well. releasing ourselves from the burdens that are holding us back. And here we see it with the number 12. And that number 12 can be seen as our life experience. And so, kind of like if we think of ourselves carrying our life experience in a net bag on our back, we might be looking at it going, right, okay, well, what experiences do I need going forwards, and what experiences have become a burden that I'm ready to let go of? Now, of course, our life experiences have shaped us. They've made us who we are. And if we look into what the Trecena is, the Trecena of Aj. So this 12 cat could well relate to using the life experience that we have, bundling together the life experience in order to bring new leadership, in order to bring new harmony into our communities. But there's also something with cat which holds on to us. There's something with cat which binds us, which burdens us. And sometimes, kind of like, the phrase that jumps into my head when I talk about bringing new harmony to community is when we get stuck into a rut and we're doing things that way because that's the way it's always been done. That's like holding on to old experiences. Now, cat can represent abundance as multiplication, but that abundance can only come if there's space in the net to bring it in. And so when we hold on to old patterns that are no longer relevant, we have no space to multiply, we stagnate, we get bound, we get stuck. And so 12 cat gives us that opportunity to release old experience so that new experience can come in. So a good day to look through and have a think about what you want to let go of, what no longer serves you, and what might be causing an imbalance in your home or your community because it is no longer relevant. I think that's a very important thing to be thinking about. Cat days always give us this opportunity for a clear out. They give us an opportunity to declutter. And 12 cat is all about decluttering our experience so we've got the right experiences that we need in order to bring our community to harmony. And finally, we will finish this Trecena on the day 13 Can, on the 11th of July 2025. So 13 Can, we have Can, the Nawal of the serpent, Can, the Nawal of power and wisdom, and we can also see it as the energy of the teacher. And here we see it connected with the number 13. The number 13 representing the ancestors. The number 13 representing the 13 major joints of our body. The connection with spirit. The connection with the Kayapa, the body lightning that runs through us all. That's what connects us with spirit. That's what connects us with the ancestors. And so, for me, the easy way of expressing 13 Can, ancestral wisdom. The wisdom that comes from spirit. And here in this Trecena of Aj, this final day suggests that, kind of like it's the wisdom that comes from spirit. The wisdom that comes from the ancestors. That's what we should use in order to bring harmony to our community. That connection that we have. Now, it's a great day to be acknowledging our teachers. Can representing our teachers that empower us by sharing their wisdom. It's a great day for divination because 13, this is like a straight connection with the ancestors, a straight connection with spirit. And of course, Can representing wisdom. It's the wisdom that comes from the ancestors. So what better day could there be for some form of divination is what I would think. It is also a very, very powerful day. And it's a day on which to, to be a little bit careful with your power, as it were, because a little will certainly go a long way on 13 can. Everything is like powered up, as it were. The messages that you might get from your teachers, the messages that you might get from spirit or from the ancestors are super powerful. And of course those may provoke a reaction, so we have to be kind of like aware that that energy is going on. We can also see that Can is the one who helps us to see through illusions. The teacher shares their wisdom to empower us and help us to see through an illusion. But we could also see that, kind of like this is also 13 can be the day of the great illusion. One way or another, the ability to see past the illusion to truth and reality is something which empowers us. The ability to see past the illusion is also something which can then bring harmony to our society because, it's seeing the truth in things. So, as I say, a very, very powerful day. So just, kind of like go easy on the 13 can day. And listen out for the spirit of the ancestors speaking with you and bringing you the wisdom that guides you to bring harmony into your community. So, I hope that you've enjoyed this rather long recording. I hope that it guides you well through the Trecena of Aj, and I look forward to seeing you again in 13 days' time for the Trecena of Aj.